So the Supreme Court has ruled that the president now has immunity for official acts, but not unofficial acts. Folks, I really wish there was a way that I could put a positive spin on this one for you, but I can't, because everything that our grandfathers ever fought for is circling the drain right before our eyes. If you grew up being told that no one is above the law, or if you taught your children that growing up, you can go ahead and take that cliche out of your bag of tricks, because now the president is above the law and has full control to do whatever he wants to. You could argue, well, unofficial acts versus official acts. If Trump's reelected, guess who's going to decide which acts were official and which ones were unofficial? Donald Trump. So to me, it really makes no difference. Now, the Biden-Harris campaign did respond by saying this: today's ruling doesn't change the facts, so let's be very clear about what happened on January 6th. Donald Trump snapped after he lost the 2020 election and encouraged a mob to overthrow the results of a free and fair election. Trump is already running for president as a convicted felon for the very same reason he sat idly by while the mob violently attacked the Capitol. He thinks he is above the law, and he is willing to do anything to gain and hold on to power for himself. Since January 6, Trump has grown more unhinged. He is promising to be a dictator on day one, calling for our Constitution to be terminated so he can regain power, and promising a bloodbath if he loses. The American people already rejected Donald Trump's self-obsessed quest for power once. Joe Biden will make sure they reject it for good in November. I mean, they're right. It doesn't change the facts of what he done on January 6th, but he is out there calling for retribution. He's saying that his presidency is going to be about retribution and revenge. And if you think I'm just trying to spread hyperbole, here's the clip of him saying it.
Against Donald Trump is promising retribution. He's promising that he's going to, go after these generals, these members of the January 6th committee, et cetera. And then obviously there is this question of what kind of immunity might President Joe Biden, if he doesn't win in November, what might he have? I actually asked Trump about that on Thursday, about going after his political opponents. Take a listen. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
This isn't just about hypotheticals. Trump is already using the rhetoric. This decision today could have an impact. Again, who knows what's going to happen in November, but it could have an impact on what happens after November.
Now, obviously, MAGA has not thought this one through. They're out there celebrating. Donald Trump's calling it a huge win, but what they fail to realize is they've gave the president full immunity. That means now Joe Biden has it. So Joe Biden could act like a king if he wanted to, right? So if he comes out and says, you know what, let's just do away with these 6 Supreme Court justices, that's an official act, will that be okay? If he says, hey, let's just go ahead and lock up Donald Trump, put him in prison for the rest of his life, that's an official act, would that be okay? I don't think anyone's really truly thinking this one through, because regardless of Biden or Trump, the president that's coming down the line is going to have the right to say, I've got full immunity, I can do whatever I want to. The Supreme Court doesn't realize that what they've done here actually has done away with them. Why would a president need them now? Why would he ever need to call upon the Supreme Court for anything if he has full immunity and can do whatever he wants to? Folks, honestly, this whole conversation is one that we should have never been having. Does a president have immunity? That in itself should have never even been a hearing. It should have never even been a case, because the first thing that any reasonable person should have came out and said, no one's above the law. He can't have immunity because no one is above the law. That's how it was supposed to be. But this is the mess that Donald Trump got us into, and I really hate to be this guy. I really hate to rub salt in a wound, but I will always go back to 2016 arguing with people who was going to stay home on Election Day, was going to vote third party because they was pissed at the Democratic establishment. We saw Roe versus Wade get overturned, affirmative action done away with. We saw rights stripped away from so many people. We saw the January 6th people just be praised and worshipped, and now president has full immunity. That's why every election matters, and that's why we have to show up at the polls to vote, because they are always going to find a way to justify his lies. They're always going to find a way to give him a pass. I want you to take a look at this clip of Doug Burgum. This drives the point home of what I'm trying to say here. Duck says he's never lied in politics, and when he's asked about the lies Trump says, he says, well, that's nothing new. Take a look at this.
About the debate and a little bit more of what we saw. By one count, Donald Trump made more than 30 false claims during that debate. I want to play something you told my colleague Chuck Todd on this broadcast last year. Take a look.
You ever lied in politics?
No.
That you know of? You don't believe you've ever lied?
No.
You feel like you've always told the truth as you understood it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I was raised, and that's how I've gone forward.
As someone who is on Donald Trump's shortlist to be his vice presidential nominee, do you think he should stop saying things that are not true?
I think that the whole manufactured thing this morning of that Donald Trump has said something that he hasn't said before. I mean, everything that he said on Thursday night, he's been saying before. I mean, so this isn't.
But this is not manufactured.
This is not news.
But this is not manufactured, Governor. I mean, just to say a few, he said that Democrats want to kill infants after birth. That's not true. He again lied about widespread fraud. Not true. He lied about its comments after Charlottesville. Should he be truthful with the American people if he wants to lead this country?
Well,
So, yeah, he lies, but that's nothing new. I mean, we know he lies. He's always done that. I mean, this ain't nothing he ain't said before. He's been saying this for years. That's the lengths they will go to defend this guy. And he if he's reelected, he could easily go after Joe Biden and say, well, this was an official act by Joe and this was an unofficial act. I don't think people realize just how grim that this decision has been. But I want to read this tweet here from Brian Tyler Cohen, because we need to drive this point home from now to the election. Brian Tyler Cohen had this to say: the next president will have the opportunity to replace 3 conservative Supreme Court justices in their 70s: Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, John Roberts. If it's Trump, he will appoint 40-year-old judges in their mold who will serve for decades. This election is not about Joe Biden. It's about ensuring we are not plagued with a far-right court for the rest of our lives. First of all, I'd like to personally thank Brian Tyler Cohen for saying that, because it needed to be said, and we need to repeat it over and over again until the election. This is not about Joe Biden. So to everybody out there that's still upset about the debate performance, forget about that damn debate, okay? He had a bad night. No one's saying that he didn't. We all owned it. We all acknowledged it. We all held him accountable for that. We came out and held him accountable for that and said, where was you, Joe? We really needed you to come through. We held him accountable, and they just gave Donald Trump full reins to do whatever the hell he wants if reelected, and to define the law however he sees fit. So all the rights that we saw stripped away from women, everything that we saw circle the drain is going to continue to do so. And here's the real kicker, folks. Will there be another election? Will we really have another one? Or can Trump just say, well, you know what? I think I've got full immunity. I'm just going to stick around. Reasonable people have to come together on this one. Reasonable people are the ones, and it's not about the Republican label, the Democratic label, progressive, liberal, conservative, atheist, Christian. I don't care what you are. You have to be reasonable about this and say, you know what? We can't let our democracy fall into the hands of someone like this. We cannot allow it. It can't happen, because we will live with a Supreme Court for the rest of our lives. We will never see any more progress made. We will never see anything get turned around. We will see every decision that comes up handed to MAGA. That's what we're going to see. They've preached this entire time that the system was rigged, and I've always said whatever they're saying, they're projecting. They intended to rig the system in their favor, and they have. The system is in their favor. It's rigged in their favor. And if we allow Donald Trump to walk back through that White House door, you can kiss it goodbye. And that's not fear and hyperbole. That's what happened. That's what happened with today's decision. So let's forget about the debate performance. Let's forget about the stutter. Let's forget about the fact that he's 82 years old. None of that matters, folks. What matters is getting across that finish line and being on the side of democracy. That's what we have to stand up for now more than ever. You know, I used to say, I go to my grandfather's grave. He was a World War II veteran. I go to it all the time. And there's so many times I stand there and I talk to him and I say, you know, I wish you was here, Papa. I wish you was here to see this. You know, this child of mine did this great thing, or this one did this. I wish you could have been there to witness this. If I go anytime soon, I'm going to say, I'm truly sorry, and I'm really glad you weren't here to see this. Because there's no way that a man that would go fight for American democracy would stand back and say, yeah, just give that billionaire grifter a pass. This is a terrible thing. I wished I had a better way of spinning it for you. I wish I could make you feel better. I wish I could make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, folks. But what I'm trying to do is just keep speaking the truth and let people realize what's on the line come November. It's not about Joe Biden anymore. It's about American democracy.